Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A small recess opening off a larger room. Bark with prolonged noises, of dogs. An indentation of a shoreline larger than a cove but smaller than a gulf. Small Mediterranean evergreen tree with small blackish berries and glossy aromatic leaves used for flavoring in cooking. Also used by ancient Greeks to crown victors. A compartment in an aircraft used for some specific purpose. He opened the bomb bay. A compartment on a ship between decks, often used as a hospital. They put him in the sick bay. A horse of a moderate reddish-brown color. The sound of a hound on the scent. Used of animals, especially a horse, of a moderate reddish-brown color. Utter in deep prolonged tones. A small recess opening off a larger room. The act of searching for something. A quest for diamonds. Express the need or desire for. She requested an extra bed in her room. Bark with prolonged noises, of dogs. A search for an alternative that meets cognitive criteria. A quest for wealth. Make a search, for. Things that die with their eyes open and questing. Search the trail of, game. The dog went off and quested. Seek alms, as for religious purposes. An indentation of a shoreline larger than a cove but smaller than a gulf. Small Mediterranean evergreen tree with small blackish berries and glossy aromatic leaves used for flavoring in cooking. Also used by ancient Greeks to crown victors. Small Mediterranean evergreen tree with small blackish berries and glossy aromatic leaves used for flavoring in cooking. Also used by ancient Greeks to crown victors. Small Mediterranean evergreen tree with small blackish berries and glossy aromatic leaves used for flavoring in cooking. Also used by ancient Greeks to crown victors. Small Mediterranean evergreen tree with small blackish berries and glossy aromatic leaves used for flavoring in cooking. Also used by ancient Greeks to crown victors. Favoring one person or side over another. Having color or a certain color, sometimes used in combination. Used of color, artificially produced, not natural. Having skin rich in melanin pigments. Favoring one person or side over another. Having color or a certain color, sometimes used in combination. Colored crepe paper. Used of color, artificially produced, not natural. Having skin rich in melanin pigments. Striking in variety and interest. A colorful period of history. Having much or varied color. Colorful autumn leaves. Having color or a certain color, sometimes used in combination. A small concavity. An enclosure that is set back or indented. Ecology, the status of an organism within its environment and community, affecting its survival as a species. A position particularly well suited to the person who occupies it. He found his niche in the academic world. A small concavity. A state of abeyance or suspended business. Close at the end of a session. A pause from doing something, as work. An enclosure that is set back or indented. An arm off of a larger body of water, often between rocky headlands. Make a recess in. Recess the piece of wood. Put into a recess. Recess lights. Remove the bark of a tree. A sailing ship with 3, or more, masts. A noise resembling the bark of a dog. Cover with bark. Make barking sounds. The dogs barked at the stranger. Speak in an unfriendly tone. She barked into the dictaphone. Tan, a skin, with bark tannins. The sound made by a dog. Tough protective covering of the woody stems and roots of trees and other woody plants. The part of the Earth's surface covered with water, such as a river or lake or ocean. They invaded our territorial waters. A facility that provides a source of water. The town debated the purification of the water supply. Binary compound that occurs at room temperature as a clear, colorless, odorless, tasteless liquid. Freezes into ice below 0 degrees centigrade and boils above 100 degrees centigrade. Widely used as a solvent. Liquid excretory product. The child had to make water. Supply with water, as with channels or ditches or streams. A liquid necessary for the life of most animals and plants. He asked for a drink of water. Fill with tears. His eyes were watering. Once thought to be one of 4 elements composing the universe, Empedocles. Provide with water. We watered the buffalo. Secrete or form water, as tears or saliva. My mouth watered at the prospect of a good dinner. The part of the Earth's surface covered with water, such as a river or lake or ocean. United States slapstick comedian, born in England, who played the scatterbrained and often tearful member of the Laurel and Hardy duo who made many films, 1890 to 1965. Antiquity. A wreath of laurel foliage worn on the head as an emblem of victory. Any of various aromatic trees of the laurel family. A partition section, chamber, or separate room within a larger enclosed area. A space into which an area is subdivided. A chessman shaped to resemble the head of a horse, can move 2 squares horizontally and 1 vertically, or vice versa. Troops trained to fight on horseback. 500 horse led the attack. A framework for holding wood that is being sawed. A padded gymnastic apparatus on legs. Solid-hoofed herbivorous quadruped domesticated since prehistoric times. Provide with a horse or horses. Solid-hoofed herbivorous quadruped domesticated since prehistoric times. Utter a sudden loud cry. Utter aloud. Often with surprise, horror, or joy. Shed tears because of sadness, rage, or pain. A slogan used to rally support for a cause. A cry to arms. A loud utterance of emotion, especially when inarticulate. A cry of rage. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Proclaim or announce in public. Before we had newspapers, a town crier would cry the news. A fit of weeping. Had a good cry. Bring into a particular state by crying. Demand immediate action. This situation is crying for attention. The characteristic utterance of an animal. Utter a characteristic sound. The cat was crying. Without qualification. Used informally as, often pejorative, intensifiers. Utter nonsense. Articulate. Either verbally or with a cry, shout, or noise. He uttered a curse. Complete and absolute. Utter seriousness. Express in speech. Express audibly. Utter sounds, not necessarily words. He uttered strange sounds that nobody could understand. Put into circulation. Utter counterfeit currency. Articulate. Either verbally or with a cry, shout, or noise. Express in speech. Be verbose. Convert into a verb. Articulate. Either verbally or with a cry, shout, or noise. Express in speech. This depressed patient does not verbalize. Be verbose. This lawyer verbalizes and is rather tedious. Convert into a verb. Many English nouns have become verbalized. Express in speech. The opening through which food is taken in and vocalizations emerge. He stuffed his mouth with candy. A spokesperson, as a lawyer. An impudent or insolent rejoinder. An opening that resembles a mouth, as of a cave or a gorge. He rode into the mouth of the canyon. A person conceived as a consumer of food. He has 4 mouths to feed. Articulate silently. Form words with the lips only. She mouthed a swear word. The externally visible part of the oral cavity on the face and the system of organs surrounding the opening. She wiped lipstick from her mouth. The opening of a jar or bottle. The jar had a wide mouth. The point where a stream issues into a larger body of water. New York is at the mouth of the Hudson. Touch with the mouth. Exchange thoughts. Talk with. Use language. The prisoner won't speak. Give a speech to. Express in speech. Make a characteristic or natural sound. Exchange thoughts. Talk with. We often talk business. Use language. The baby talks already. An exchange of ideas via conversation. Let's have more work and less talk around here. Express in speech. She talks a lot of nonsense. Deliver a lecture or talk. She will talk at Rutgers next week. Reveal information. If you don't oblige me, I'll talk. A speech that is open to the public. Idle gossip or rumor. There has been talk about you lately. Divulge confidential information or secrets. Be careful, his secretary talks. Discussion. Talk about as a less formal alternative for discussion of. His poetry contains much talk about love and anger. The act of giving a talk to an audience. I attended an interesting talk on local history. Postpone doing what one should be doing. Small individual study area in a library. A booth where articles are displayed for sale. Come to a stop. The car stalled in the driveway. Small area set off by walls for special use. A tactic used to mislead or delay. A compartment in a stable where a single animal is confined and fed. A malfunction in the flight of an aircraft in which there is a sudden loss of lift that results in a downward plunge. The plane went into a stall and I couldn't control it. Cause an airplane to go into a stall. Cause an engine to stop. The inexperienced driver kept stalling the car. Deliberately delay an event or action. She doesn't want to write the report, so she is stalling. Experience a stall in flight of airplanes. Put into, or keep in, a stall. Seating in the forward part of the main level of a theater. Small individual study area in a library. French surgeon and biologist who developed a way to suture and graft blood vessels, 1873 to 1944. Small individual study area in a library. Small room in which a monk or nun lives. Small area set off by walls for special use. Small individual study area in a library.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.